Today we're going to review this. It's called Discarded. It's a sweet vermouth flavoured with Cascara, or Cascara. I have been trying to get hold of this for a year. They launched it over a year ago now, but though a couple of cafes were serving it as part of like a cocktail program, you couldn't buy it anywhere. And I couldn't get a hold of any despite contacting them because I think I upset them, because I complained about their Instagram account and kind of how they portrayed farmers. Maybe that's not it, I don't know, but I stand by my criticisms and we'll come back to that in a second. What we have here is a sweet vermouth flavoured with the dried sort of husk of a coffee cherry, Cascara. They're making a play on this based on the fact that it is thrown away, it's not really used. We have millions of fruit farmers growing coffee. We ultimately don't use or eat the fruit. We throw the fruit away, we keep the seeds, we roast the seeds, we grind and drink the seeds, and we have a good time. But the fruit, not so much, right? And I like the idea of doing something with the fruit. It's an additional revenue stream. Now in the UK and in Europe, right now, Cascara has been determined to be not yet legal. It hasn't really gone through the rigorous checks that all food should go through before we certify it safe for human consumption. That is slowly happening, slowly, but it would appear that you can sort of short circuit that if you distill with it, right? If you're not eating or drinking it, but you're taking a distillate of it, well, that is going to be food safe. There's just no chance that something could survive the distillation process. And I think that's how they've done this. I have some hopes for this as a beverage. I don't really know what to expect, so I'm going to crack it open and have a little sniff. Now, what's weird to me... Oh, that is nice. What's weird to me about this is that the front says it's made with natural Cascara berries. What? What is a Cascara berry? Like, no. Cascara is the Spanish word for the kind of rind of a fruit, the kind of peel. Like orange peel would be Cascara. You don't get Cascara berries. It's not a type of thing. It is indicative of this kind of weird lack of understanding of this ingredient that actually is a common theme throughout their kind of website as well as the bottle itself. Gotta say, it smells pretty good. I need to get some ice. Let's just drink this over ice. Let me get some ice. Tons of like stone fruit, apricot, plum, fig. Right, there is that little hint of like ferment that you get in any form of Cascara, that, you know, it is fruit that died. It was plucked, it has gone through some sort of ripening, and it is now kind of past its best, and that's, to some people, a charming quality of it. Some others, you get it in natural coffees, a kind of deeply unsettling quality to it. It's very figgy. That is surprising from a textural perspective. That's very thick, it's very viscous. It's got, god damn it, what is that flavour? I can't quite put my finger on it. There's not a ton of that kind of rose, hippie, tamarind type flavour that you get from Cascara quite often. I mean, it's certainly sweet. There's no question there. It is very sweet. This would be something, if I'm going to mix with this in a little bit, you'd want to play a pretty delicate touch with. The booze is nice. It's about 21% alcohol, and by now, substantially less than that. It's already diluted a little bit. A nice level of bitterness in there, that kind of bitter orange bitterness. That's very pleasant. I think it's a pretty well composed vermouth. Just the beginnings, actually, of oxidation in there already, which is surprising. I have a real issue with vermouth oxidizing. It's by no means bad. I'm not necessarily excited about it, but I don't drink a ton of vermouth on its own. I tend to drink mixed drinks. So I'm going to put together, I think, a Manhattan, because I think that's something that I drink fairly often. And I'm curious to see how it would do in a Manhattan. Now, look, I'm aware that making a cocktail on this channel is going to open up some conversations about what a good or bad Manhattan is. I don't want to get too deep into that conversation today. It's a good conversation, but it's not for today. I'm going to use Woodford Reserve as my whiskey. I think it is a lovely mixing bourbon that is absent of any defects. It is sweet and super approachable and tastes just very bourbon. It doesn't have a ton of character, and it's the absence of character actually that makes it, I think, particularly good for mixed drinks. It'll also be a pretty neutral testing bed for something like this to see what shines through. So it's just going to be Woodford, this, Angostura, stirred down over ice, and I forgot the cherries.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
So no garnish for me. Okay, let's just mix down a Manhattan. Let's drink that, taste that, see how we feel about it, and then I'm going to wrap up because there's some more to talk about here. Get rid of this for now. Now, just looking at this particular drink, we can see that as vermouth, well, it's clearly not really a red vermouth. It's a sweet vermouth, but it's not a red vermouth. The color of this drink, the color of it generally suggests that it was not kind of fortified red wine that was kind of given interesting aromatics. I don't really know what the base of it is, but it is not a red wine base. So it is a sweet vermouth, not a red vermouth. I don't know how that's going to work out as a Manhattan, but let's find out. Because it was really quite sweet, I went for a slightly different ratio than I might typically use. This was 55 grams of bourbon, 23 grams of discarded, and then about 1.5 grams of Angostura, because you need a lot of Angostura in a Manhattan. I firmly believe this. It produces actually quite a light drink, lacking a little bit of depth. It's okay. It really gets sort of knocked about by the bourbon here, even though Woodford's not particularly characterful. It's not a great Manhattan. It's not. It would not replace either of the vermouths that I use currently. I think it actually is not a particularly memorable drink. They recommend putting it in a boulevardier, I think, because they're like that you could call it a discardier. There's very little, if any, Cascara coming through here. I'm not saying it's unpleasant. It's really not. Of the coffee-related drinks that I've drunk, this is pleasant. This is enjoyable to drink, but it doesn't really taste of Cascara. Not in the way that I know Cascara and that I've experienced Cascara over the years. It's nice. I just feel that it smacks a little bit of bandwagon jumping, and I do want to talk about that. I feel like this is a big company. Like, it's from William Grant & Sons. They are a £1.2 billion business. They own a bunch of brands. You may know Hendrick's Gin amongst them, and a bunch of other sort of whiskey brands too. So this is a big company. It's family owned, but it's a big company doing this. And I was a bit upset about their Instagram, in that I felt that they used images of producers without really saying who they were. And in fact, if you go to the website, on the front page, there's a picture of two people. One is a producer, and one is a picture of their brand ambassador. Only one of those two people gets a name, and that's not the producer. You know, like the producers are sort of totemic. They're not real people in there. And there's a couple of other things in there that sort of unsettled me. Let me just bring it up real quick. There's this page on the site that talks about the age of disposability being over. And apart from the fact they talk about Cascara going to landfill, which is just weird. Along with that, they talk about several factors that affect Cascara developing a good flavor. The plants are well nourished, so all of the sugars are preserved in the Cascara. Okay, I'll just let it go. I'll let it go. The second is that we don't use water in the process of making the coffee, which means that all of the sugars are preserved in the Cascara and the flavor isn't weakened through using water in the process. What are you talking about? What are you saying? Are you saying that this is the result of a natural processed coffee? Because the picture next to it looks a lot like freshly pulped coffee. You know what I mean? Like, I just... The third is the passion with which we make the coffee. The way we plant and harvest the coffee means that we only end up with mature coffee, and that means the Cascara contains all of the sugars it needs. Is that not point one? Is that not the first thing you said? I just don't understand it. You have these images of producers, but you never give a farm name. You never give a producer name. I don't like this sort of use of imagery, to be honest. It's just, I mean, that's just me. You may feel differently about it, right? But I kind of feel like it's weird that you talk about Cascara berries, which aren't a thing, and then you talk bunch of nonsense about why your Cascara might be good. You show some unrelated pictures, and I just don't think you understand coffee cherries. Right? And you've made a nice drink. No one's going to take that away from you. It's fine. It's totally okay. I'm not angry about it. It's fine. You could mix drinks with it and maybe they'll be fine. I don't think they're better for having Cascara in it, but they're okay. I don't know how much Cascara goes into a bottle, but by the taste of it, not very much. So I struggle to really cheer this on as a brand, as a product, because I don't deeply trust it. Now, you go and look at the website, make up your own mind, right? Like maybe I'm too cynical. I could believe that. I could believe that I've lost it and just become pure cynicism, but I'm just not sold. What do you think? Have you tried it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you had one of these drinks? Have you served it? Do you work in somewhere that stocks it? What do you think? What does it taste like to you? What does it go with? What is its best application? Do you have questions too? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.